Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar for the day. Today might run a little bit long because we're going to actually look at a group of 3 apps today called the Panther apps from Panther Technologies. We're going to look at Panther Connect, Panther Writer, and Panther Math Paper. These are all created by a guy named Richard Ellenson who runs Panther Technologies. You may be familiar with him as the creator of the Tango, the AAC system. Richard's a real interesting guy who decided to start doing this to help his son and kids like his son that have motor disabilities that struggle with accessing the computer. He came up with some of these apps to help folks that struggle with writing, that struggle with doing math, and that struggle with accessing the computer, and that's what we're going to look at today. The first one we're going to look at is a tool called Panther Connect. Panther Connect is a little bit different. It's a little bit different than most of the apps that you've seen in our webinars before. Panther Connect is a tool that's going to allow us to turn our iPad into a mouse device, a mouse control device. So basically, it's almost making it's a software to make our iPad a hardware accessibility tool. And so for that reason, while we're doing this webinar, I have left kind of the background of my computer desktop up. The way we run these webinars is we reflect our iPad onto the computer screen to record what's going on. So the cursor that you see on there is actually the mouse on the computer screen. That's what you're going to be seeing moved by this app itself. So this app runs for $29.99. To use it, you need to be on the internet and you need to download something called Panther Link first. You can see Panther Link down in the bottom corner here. That Panther Link allows us to link our iPad to the computer to run the iPad as a touch system. So what we want to do first is we want to look at this button. That's the Panther logo. If you tap the Panther logo, you can see there's 5 ways that you can customize your trackpad. There's basic, split screen, mini track, 2-axis, and 4-axis there. If we touch basic, that allows us to take this whole middle of the screen becomes a touchpad. So now if I touch that iPad and move my finger across, you'll see that white dot is my finger on the iPad. And now you can see the mouse cursor moving across my computer screen as I do that. So for somebody with a motor disability that may not be able to use a standard mouse, this might be something that makes it a little bit easier for them to control that mouse so you can connect your iPad up to your computer to run that. If we go back and touch on the Panther logo, the second one there is probably my favorite. It's a split screen. So you'll see half that screen is a rabbit, the other half is a turtle. What we get here is with the rabbit side, our big movements create big movements on the screen. So our movement creates big movements on the screen. So you can see as I move my finger back and forth just across the middle of that area with the rabbit, you're seeing the cursor fly back and forth across the entire computer screen. That allows us to move big distances fairly quickly. So let's say I wanted to move and go down and hit the start button. I could tap on the rabbit side and move into that general area of the start button. So I haven't quite hit the start button yet, but I'm down in that area. The turtle side takes that and it slows down our movements. So movements result in smaller movements. So it allows for more fine-tuning of where you want to go. So now if I'm close to that start button and I want to get exactly on it, I can go to the turtle side and I can start moving, and you can see my big movements of my finger result in smaller movements of my cursor to get me to be able to zero in on things a little bit easier. So the rabbit gives us large, faster movements. The turtle gives us slower, smaller movements. Even from big movements back and forth on the iPad itself, you get smaller movements from the cursor. So that's really neat that you give those students that might struggle with targeting when they're using something quicker like the rabbit, you give them the opportunity to target a little bit easier using the turtle on this side as well. If I go back to the Panther logo, the middle option is mini track. Mini track is designed for students that might struggle with big movements, and they get the small touchpad down at the bottom. So if you look down at the bottom here, this is what's being controlled. This is what's controlling the mouse right now. It's this small touchpad, that small area that we can move all across our computer screen just by staying within that small area. So for students, again, that can only move small distances, that mini touch might be a helpful tool. If we go back to the Panther logo, the next option is 2-axis. If for some reason you only want the student to be able to move up and down, because they need to be only able to move in two directions here, left and right, or up and down, and you don't want to move it all over the place. I guess this does allow us to do that, but if we slide back and forth, you're going to see it's going to just move us in the up and down direction. We're not going to be moving in circles. We're not going to be moving all over the place. It's easier to kind of go back and forth across the screen or up and down along a line using the 2-axis option. There's also a 4-axis option which adds diagonals into this as well. So you can go up, down, left, right, or diagonally up and down to the left, or diagonally up and down to the right as well. So that's going to allow us to keep movement along a straight line, even if we're kind of moving all over the place on our screen. We're going to be moving along a straight line on the screen. So those are probably the most commonly used ones here, are your basic and your split screen. But you have those options for mini track, 2-axis, and 4-axis as well. Now it isn't just a touchpad, as you can kind of see across the bottom. There's some other options there. If we look down here, one of the options is the click. If we tap on the click button, we're going to get arrow keys. We're going to get control click, shift click, the click and drag, a double click, or an edit button. So we're able to double click to open things. We're able to scroll using this as well. If I had the internet open and I hit scroll, it would scroll up and down. When I hit edit, it's going to give me options to undo, copy, cut, paste, all that stuff as well. So if I was in a Word document, I could use my iPad to provide one-touch access to lots of the tools that you might find in your Word document. You can see if we had iTunes open, there's an option here for playing our music. Next to that, there's an option that allows me to open various programs that might be hooked up to my computer, all with one touch. So again, I don't even necessarily have to be sliding over and clicking on something. If I had trouble using a standard mouse, I can access everything on my screen right through here. The next option over gives me access to all my current files that are open on the screen. So I can flip between all of the files I have open with one touch. Then we already saw that click button. The button next to that gives us options for new, open, save, print, again, anything you might see in a Word document. And then you'll see we can also bring up the keyboard, the iPad keyboard here, and we can type in a Word document using the keyboard on the iPad. So we can access everything on our standard computer through Panther Connect here. It's a really neat tool that gives us lots of different options. At $30 with all it can do, it's a pretty good bargain, especially when you consider what some of these alternative mousing tools might run you in general anyway. An alternative joystick could run as much as $400 to $500, which is the cost of an iPad itself, and it doesn't give you near the functionality here. So if you know somebody that's got a motor disability that might struggle with using a standard mouse but could benefit from a touchpad, Panther Connect is a fantastic tool for accessing the computer. We're going to take a look next at a tool called Panther Writer, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. So the next Panther app we're going to look at is a tool called Panther Writer. Again, the group that this was created for is people with motor disabilities. Panther Writer is a $29.99, just like Panther Connect. And what this does, if we open it up, you're going to see there are 4 potential keyboards that you can go ahead and use with this. So there's 4 keyboards that operate a little bit differently that allow somebody with motor disabilities to be able to type on the iPad. So if I go, I'm going to do Basic Plus keyboard first. I'm going to tap on that. And what we're going to see is we're going to see a keyboard open up with a word processor. So much like other apps, this is not an app that we can open up and use in other word processors. This has its own word processor to it that you can see up here. So what happens with Basic Plus keyboard here is when I start typing, I could write today is Tuesday. Start typing, you can see when I type, when I hit a key, it's going to highlight on that screen. I start typing, and I'm going to see word prediction up here as well. That's going to try and make typing a little bit quicker for me. I haven't gotten to a point where today shows up yet, but now today is up there. I can hit the word today. It's going to add that into my document for me. The cool thing about this, and I don't know that you're going to be able to tell what I'm doing when I'm on here or when I'm doing this, but it doesn't register a key click until you actually move your finger off of the keyboard. So even if you touch here, let's say I want to write today is, and when I touch the screen I touch on E, you can see E is highlighted, but now I'm sliding my finger still on the keyboard over to I. You can see I'm touching all kinds of other letters. It's not typing them. It has to register you releasing your finger from the iPad on that letter to register that letter. So if you have somebody, even if you have somebody that struggles with targeting but can get their finger on the keyboard and slide to the key they want, they can use this. That's a really neat feature that you don't see in any other keyboard. So that's kind of what the basic keyboard looks like. You can change your dwelling time if you want as well. If you go into the settings button, which is those two gears there, we can see our keyboard mode, we can see typing preferences, accessibility options, and so on and so forth. The keys that we have across the bottom here actually let somebody with a motor impairment navigate through these menus. So if we wanted to go to accessibility options, we could use the down arrow until we got to accessibility options, and then use the right arrow, and it's going to show us some of the options in there. So there's dwell time. If we went forward, we could turn a dwell time on so that you have to hold that key for a certain amount of time to be able to have it register. When we want to get out of this, we would hit the OK, we'd hit the back button, and we're back to our keyboard here. The other thing that this has that's really nice is if we look down here where you got the pencil kind of over a line, if you tap on that, that gives us real clear editing options. So when you see that anything that says L, that's letter, anything that says W is a word, anything that says S is sentence. And I believe this first one deletes it deletes when you hit it. The second row with forward and back, if you tap, say, go back a word, it's going to highlight the previous word. The bottom row, if you hit word, it's going to jump back a word without deleting it. So we could go forward a sentence then, go to the end of this, hit delete, or hit S for sentence, and it's going to get rid of the whole sentence for us. So there's some really cool, kind of quick and easy editing options built into this keyboard as well. That's a really nice feature. If we look at the lightning bolt there, that lightning bolt allows us to select it allows us to select the word in the word prediction. So if I went through today is Tuesday, if I started to do this again, got to TOD, and today is first in the sentence, in the line there, if I hit the lightning bolt, it's going to select today. It's always going to select the first option there, I believe, unless we hold down and let it roll through and kind of scroll through there. But that's a neat way to kind of access word prediction also for somebody that might struggle using a standard keyboard. To change keyboards, this is where it gets maybe a little confusing. You have to go up and hit the Panther logo up in the top right corner. I'm kind of pointing to it with the cursor there. Sometimes it's hard to see, but if we tap that, it's going to take us back to the main page. The next keyboard that I want to look at is the mini touch keyboard. If we tap on that, just like in Panther Connect, where we had the mini trackpad, here we've got a mini keyboard that if we have trouble with moving our hand all over the place and we can only do small movements, it's going to make it so that we don't have to move very far. We can start typing, and we've got all the buttons that we need right there. Along with our small keyboard, you can see we also have the lightning bolt here to allow us to choose words from our word prediction. So we can choose the lightning bolt and add that into our document. We also have the pencil, the editing option, to get us to those 3 editing levels, and they're small again, so we don't have to move very far if we don't have that motor movement to be able to move much on the screen. I'm going to hit the setting option again, and I wanted to show you appearances. If you look at appearances, we can change the skin of the keyboard to lots of different things. Right now it's graphite. We can change it to any different color our student wants. We can change the font color, the way the paper appears, the font size, change lots of things up on this, as well as changing up the keyboards. I'm going to go back up and hit the Panther logo again. And I'm going to show you, these last two are probably my two favorite keyboards here. Tom's keyboard is the first one I want to show you. Tom is the son of the creator of this program, and he basically, his son needed bigger keys. And the way that he decided to make a bigger keyboard here, he increased the size of the keys, making the keyboard the same size. So you still see the same amount of word processor here. But what he did was he removed the least commonly used letters. So if you look here, you don't see any Q, J, K, Z, X, Y. Those are all on another screen. You can see a button right here that indicates that that's where those other letters are. So what this is going to do is it's going to give us bigger keys, bigger targets of the letters that we would most commonly target, and then if we need one of those other letters, we would tap on that button and it would take us to an area where we had Z, X, V, Q, J, K. Here we would also get access to numbers, so we could hit the numbers and have our number pad there. So this big key keyboard again gives us larger target areas, gives us just access on the front page to the most commonly used keys that you might see here. I'm going to go back to this area because this is where our editing takes place, and I'm just going to get rid of our sentences, or get rid of Tuesday. We'll go back and write that in just a minute with another keyboard. So let me get rid of the word Tuesday there, and then I'll dive back into our Tom's keyboard. So again, bigger keys, but we have multiple screens we have to deal with a little bit here. I'm going to go back up to the top to that Panther Connect button. I'm going to show you the vertical fall keyboard. The vertical fall keyboard is pretty cool. The way this operates, this is like a scanning keyboard. So if you don't have a whole lot of movement and you want to just be able to drag your finger across the bottom of the screen, these letters are not typed by touching the letter. They're typed by touching the button underneath the column that they're in. So if I wanted to type Tuesday, you can see this is the column that has the T in it. I would touch the button at the bottom of the column, and when it gets to T, I would let go. So as soon as we see T light up, I'd let go. I went too far, so now I've got to go over to the delete key, hold down that one until it gets to delete and let go. And now I'll try T again here. So when T lights up, I select it. Then I go over to the U column. When U lights up, I select it. Then I'm going to go over to the E column. When E lights up, I'm going to select it. And now I see Tuesday up here in my word prediction. So I'm going to go over to where my lightning bolt is. I'm going to press that button until it lights up. I'll select it and add it into my document. So this is kind of a scanning method for somebody that can't go up and down too much, that struggles with targeting the individual keys to type. As long as you can hit one of the buttons across the bottom and hold it still as the program cycles through it, you're able to access and type on here. Now the downsides to this is not hooked up to any to Dropbox or anything like that. To get anything off of this, you're going to have to save it into the file folder over here. You can save it or you can email it. So we could save it, we could email it, we could post it to Facebook, post it to Twitter, print it. But a common way that a lot of folks access things these days is through Dropbox, and we can't move things back and forth from Dropbox on here. The other downside to this, as I said before, with all apps, just kind of the inherent way that they work within themselves. So we can't pull up any of these keyboards and use them, say, in Safari or in any other program besides Panther Writer here. So it's a nice tool. It's a very nice keyboard. Lots of very nice keyboards to it. Really great option for kids that have, or anybody that has a physical disability, for typing on their iPad. But there's some difficulties maybe with moving things off if you don't want to get it off via email, and we can't use these keyboards and other things, so it's just for writing within this. But it is a really, really nice tool in that respect. The last one I want to show you here today is a tool called Panther Math Paper. Panther Math Paper, again, developed for folks with motor disabilities that struggle with holding a pencil and paper and writing math problems out. What this does is it gives us, as you can see, a grid, and we can add our numbers, our problems into this grid. A teacher could add the problems directly into the grid for the student and then email it to the student. The student can open it up within Math Paper, and the student can then go through and answer these questions. And you can see everything's down across the bottom. We've got our numbers down there. We've got our basic math features. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how we would go about answering one of these problems. So if I went to my addition problem, and I tap the square that I want to enter my first number into, I can say 9 plus 2, that's equal to 11. But while I'm in this box, I also want to carry a 1 over to the next column. I do that by hitting the button that has the file folder with the 2 plus 4. And then these 4 buttons here, those are our carry features. So if I hit the plus key, that's going to take and carry up above. That's going to carry to the wrong spot, I guess. So I should have, it does take a little getting used to. What I should have done is entered 1, we'll enter 1 again, and allow that to jump to the next spot over. Then I would go and I would carry my 1 with the addition carry key, and I would add a 1 up there. So we're going to see now I've added the 1, so I can add my 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5, and I've got that option there. I've got my numbers written in here. Now what's cool about this is this just gives us access to writing math. There's not a calculator in this, so this can be used as a testing method for somebody. They didn't want to make this a tool that does all of the problems for the individual. They wanted to make it something that the individual is going to have to go through and actually enter things in and do math without having the benefit of a calculator, I suppose. So you can see we have several problems there. We would do all of these the same way. We can, in the multiplication one, we could go here and say, 8 times 5 is 40. So we can put a 0 in here, and then we can go up to our multiplication carry button here. Hit that. It's going to go up ahead there. We'll add a 4 in there. So say 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 12. So we can add the 2 and the 1, and then we've got our problem answered there as well. So it's really easy for a student then to go through and answer these questions and be able to access math this way. Now it's not just your basic math functions that they have in here. If you go and look at the folder with the 2xy squared, if we open that up, we can see we've got parentheses, greater than, less than, we've got percentage, pi, exponents, we've got fractions in here as well. We have access to just about anything we can do math-wise, up to calculus, I suppose. Under more, there's several different, we can do money things, we can do distance, time, geometry, weight, volume. We've got all kinds of different variables we can add in, every letter there. If we look underneath the 2 plus 4 key again, we've got commas, we've got division symbols in there, we've got our means to carry over a number in there, lots of different things that we can do within this. If we wanted to add a problem to this, let me just show you how we would do that real quick. I'm going to go to the home button. Maybe we were doing something real simple at school, maybe 2 plus 2. We would put the number 2. And then if we wanted to go to the side, we could just add the plus next to that 2. If we wanted to go up and down, we could add the plus here, add the 2 there, and then the little pencil with the line gives us the line we're looking for, our answer line, and it provides that underneath that for us so that we can then go and give our answers. So really we do have access to lots of different problems, or being able to do lots of different math things here. For a teacher, if you look up at the pad of paper here, if we tap on that, this is where a teacher can add a note. We could say maybe please finish by Friday, and then we can save this and send it to all of our students. Then they would see that with the instructions on what they need to do here. That little save button brings up the options for new, open, save, save as, delete, send, all kinds of things like that. If I want to go back here, I will show you one other thing. If I use the pinching feature for zooming in or zooming out, we can make those problems smaller. We can have access to a greater number of grid boxes there. If I zoom the other way. I can zoom in on those so I can see them a little bit better as well. And this is a really neat, again, this doesn't have a calculator connected to it. It can be used as a testing for testing, for doing your homework. A teacher could take the worksheet they're going to give every other student and plug the problems into a student's Panther math paper, send it home with a student that way. They can do their homework right on here. They can work in class using this. Really, it's a fantastic tool math-wise. I know Richard developed this for students with motor impairments. I think this is equally as helpful for students that struggle with organizing and lining things up. The grid is there. They can't be all over the place. They kind of have to follow the grid to be able to use it. It is pretty intuitive, although it takes run through it a couple times just to kind of realize the direction that things are going to go in, or how we would maybe go about using the carrying features. For example, if I was going to do that problem 27 minus 18, I would go down here. I would take a look at this and I would say, okay, I can't subtract 8 from 7. I would need to do a carry first. So I'm going to go tap on my folder. I'm going to hit the minus carry option. It's going to kind of show me what that becomes then. So we'll say, 1. I can add the 1 in there. It gives me the 1 next to that. I can say 17 minus 8 is 9. Then it moves to the left. So you always kind of you work right to left on these problems. When they're done vertically, if they're done horizontally, you would go left to right. Then that's a 0. There's your answer. So it can take a little getting used to, but it's a very neat, very intuitive program. I think all of these Panther tools are fantastic. This one is $19.99, so a little bit less expensive than the other ones, but all of these are fantastic apps that are really actually nice looking apps as well, and I think can make a big difference for students with motor impairments. So that about is going to wrap it up for our presentation, our webinar here today. If you have any questions, as always, you can email me at james-stachowiak@uiowa.edu. Thanks, everybody.